I originally did French and Italian at university. As with French still today, you have to have an A-level, so I was already familiar with French culture and language by the time it came to applying to university. I took up Italian at school for a year. I absolutely loved it. It was the decision wasn't difficult for me to choose French and Italian at university. And partly it was because I loved languages, and so it was simply another language which I was learning. But also that it was something new, it was exciting, I was doing it from scratch. And that rapid acceleration into learning the language, which was what was intoxicating, it's really kept you spellbound to learning a new language. And in fact, that's essentially the model of university learning at the moment. So you might take a post-A-level subject like French or German or Spanish, but you can take Italian, for example, ab initio, from scratch. And so you have different rates at which you learn the two languages. Not so much playing catch up, but rather an increased immersion in that other language which you're learning at a much faster rate. So you get different experiences of the language and the culture and the literature as well. And what's so extraordinary about language is that it doesn't work by just cramming at the last minute. You have to constantly work at it, and there are moments when all that vocabulary, all that grammar that you've learned together suddenly clicks, and you are able to use it and speak confidently and without gaps, fluently. And it's an incremental way of learning a skill, a very important and difficult skill set, which is what learning languages is all about. And the biggest sort of moment where it all clicked is the year abroad, which is by far the highlight of a languages degree, where you go abroad for 6 months here, 6 months there, maybe an entire year in a foreign culture. And it is the most amazing time of your life, because not only is it a case of just surviving in a different country, but you're doing much more than that. You are participating in it, you are studying, you are working, you are teaching. So it's not just a case of can I get by with the basic vocabulary that you have, but what kinds of levels can you interact with the culture? How do you see a culture through their own language, their own eyes? But also, how do you look back at your own home culture through the eyes of a different language? That's really a big eye-opener when you go on your year abroad. You understand how other cultures work. You become more culturally aware. You become more culturally engaged, and it makes you a better person because you understand not only how your home culture might exist in a larger context, such as Europe, but also how you might exist as an individual within a specific social context. So it makes you much more aware of how you, as an individual, fit within a society or other groups of any language or of course any size or any background. And it's an important moment when you begin to really think through how you as an individual function and exist in the world in more philosophical terms. It's a moment of not so much just learning how you survive on your own, but who you are, how you develop. Students who come back from the year abroad are noticeably more mature, independent, and critically engaged after having done that very important year abroad. You feel that you are empowered to use any language that you've been studying. So in other words, you can use that French, that German, that Spanish, that French, as well as your English. And all languages are improving at the same time because you get a real sense of how do you sound speaking someone else's language might also reflect on how you speak better English as well. And so there's a real improvement in all language skills by doing something like a languages degree. And now, even after having done my BA, and I've now focused more on Italian, I still use my French. It's still an important language because even though I might look at Italian predominantly, there are many critics and authors who engage with French culture, who write about French authors, and so therefore knowing about French and knowing how to read their French essays and read about some of the French literature is really key and helpful in learning about Italian literature. In other words, the languages are all connected, and so I don't just drop the languages, I still use them even if they come back and forth in terms of importance as time goes on.